Hi, thanks for joining us. In this video, I'm going to show how we can use minikube to create a production-like ClickHouse cluster on our own laptop. First, we'll install and configure minikube. Then we'll install the Altinity.Cloud-Connect and connect our Kubernetes cluster to Altinity Cloud Manager. Then we'll use the Altinity Cloud Manager to launch a production-like ClickHouse cluster. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is install minikube and create a minikube cluster. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to be following along with the documentation from docs.altinity.com under the Altinity Cloud Anywhere section. We've got a little tutorial on how to use minikube to create a production-like cluster using minikube. Now, of course, this is not going to be an actual production environment that we would want to use for real things because I'm going to be running this on my laptop, in my case, an M1 Pro. But it should be enough to simulate what a production cluster looks like and use ACM to do all of the production-like things. So we can go on over to the minikube start page to install minikube. You can certainly use Homebrew. I'm going to use the binary download. I'm on Mac OS and on ARM. We'll copy that and then go over to our terminal and paste that in. Should be pretty quick. Needs my sudo password. Okay, now we have minikube. So we head back to the Altinity documentation. We can see that our next step is to create a cluster with 7 nodes. Now, you don't necessarily need to create a cluster with 7 nodes. I'm just doing that to simulate all of the things that ACM would be doing for you in a high availability multi-region production environment. So we'll copy and paste that and back to our terminal and create the cluster. This is going to take just a moment, so I'll be right back. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Now, I will note one thing. In my configuration, the nodes were each created with 2 CPUs and 2200 megabytes of memory. That is going to be relevant later, so I'm going to go ahead and note that down. Now, our next step is to apply some labels to these nodes that we just created so that we can use them to simulate a multi-region environment. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in the command to do that, and we can see we're applying a node type and a fake region to each one of the 7 nodes that we've just created. Those are going to be minikube zone A through C. Go ahead and apply that. We can see that that was successful. Next, we need to create some storage classes. So this is going to allow us to use local storage with these nodes that we just created. That's going to be really important. That looks like it was successful. And now we need to set those storage classes that we just created as the default. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this command. Again, all of these commands are in the docs.altinity.com guide that I'm following along. We'll paste that command in. We can see we're just patching the storage class so that it is the default. Okay, and that was successful. Okay, now to verify that that all worked, we're just going to go ahead and get storage classes, and there we go. That looks pretty good. All right, so now that our minikube cluster is operational and has proper storage classes and it's ready to go, we can head on over to Altinity.Cloud and we can set up a new environment. In order to see the screen, you will need to have owner permissions on the Altinity.Cloud account. You go ahead and click Setup Environment, and I'm going to choose Bring Your Own Kubernetes. We'll call this minikube Josh, and just wait a second for the environment to provision. Okay, so next we need to download the Altinity.Cloud-Connect binary. So we'll head on over to the GitHub page for that. And we can head to the releases page. And I am on Mac OS, ARM64. So we'll grab that. Head back to our terminal. Paste that in. Okay. So now we should have the Altinity.Cloud-connect binary available. Go back to the instructions. We need to run this command to connect to Altinity.Cloud. Go ahead and copy that. Back to my terminal. Turn this off so you can see things. Okay, so now we're connected. If we head I'll go ahead and click on proceed, and we can see that we're connected. So we're going to say it's a not specified region. It's actually our minikube region, and we're going to provide the custom availability zones that we created in our labels on the nodes. Minikube zone A, minikube zone B, and minikube zone C. These are the correct storage classes. We actually have a capacity of 7 nodes, and we want each node to be available for any of these roles. Go ahead and proceed. We launch K9s, we can see some of this in action. Look at the pods coming up. We see our edge proxies, our Prometheus node exporters. We see our Altinity operators for ClickHouse. We see the cloud connector, and eventually we'll see our ClickHouse nodes coming online. And we can see that we now have our cluster connected to Altinity Cloud Manager and ready for us to create ClickHouse clusters. Before we can create a ClickHouse cluster on our newly provisioned Kubernetes cluster, we have one more step. We have these node types, and because this is not a standard cloud environment, we need to tell the Altinity Cloud Manager what these nodes are. Now, this is where we need to use that note that we made earlier when we created the minikube cluster. Our memory limit for each node is going to be 2200, and our CPU is 2. We'll do that for each of the 3 node types. Okay, and now we are ready to create our cluster.